These movies are not for everyone. Hello guys, welcome to Filmanter, and for today's list, we'll be taking a look at some of the most gut-wrenching Bollywood movies ever that not everyone can get through. Before we begin though, please make sure to subscribe to Filmanter if you haven't already, and press the bell icon to never miss an update. With that out of the way, this is Aamir, and here are 10 most disturbing Bollywood movies ever. Number 10. Shaitan. Bijoy Nambiar's Shaitan explores the inner demons within all of us in a more relatable setting than most other entries in this list, which is perhaps the exact reason why it hits as hard as it does during its runtime. Shaitan follows a group of urban youngsters whose reckless behavior ends up causing great deal of trouble to them, and in an age of glorifying freedom, the movie dares showing us the darker side of it, which is aggressive, brutal, and ruthless. Internally though, regardless of how they're perceived outside, the group at the heart of Shaitan is inseparable, which is perhaps why they end up developing such a strong bond with each other. One accident, a blackmailing cop, and a staged kidnapping later though, everything changes. This is where the demon really kicks off, with the friends turning vulnerable and as a result more violent, only this time, it's at the expense of each other. Shaitan juggles between being a psychological thriller and an all-out gory film, so watch it at your own risk. Number 9. Badlapur. Can someone finally tell us what we were supposed to feel after watching this movie? Badlapur was far more deep than the surface level revenge drama it appeared to be. It's fair to say that in this 2015 crime thriller, Raman Raghav was not interested in making us feel anything in particular about his characters, specifically Raghu and Like. One of them loses his family in a bank robbery, but then goes on to ruthlessly murder everyone directly or indirectly attached to that incident. The other being one of those original robbers who ends up getting caught and spends most of the film's duration under sentence, and that too knowing of his fatal medical condition. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and when it finally starts taking place, we can't help but distance ourselves from the once perfectly relatable family man who rapes Like's girlfriend and makes a bloody pulp out of his crime partner's wife, all in the name of revenge. You know how unsettling our protagonist would be if the actual villain of his life stands across him and tries talking some sense into him. Number 8. LSD, Love, Sex or Dhoka. The movie, made entirely over handycam, security cameras, and secret cameras, is the perfect example of effective cinema with least amount of visual effort. Dibakar Banerjee takes us through 3 different stories in LSD, all told one after the other in an extremely realistic way that catches our attention right from the first moment, and right when we start settling in, snatches all of that comfort in the most disturbing of ways. The fact that all those 3 stories are intertwined with each other, we keep getting unwanted follow-ups to the last one we saw, and that just adds to the uncomfortable feeling inside of us while watching this entire movie. LSD is honest, raw, and gruesome. It politely asks you to invest yourself in a likable character just so it can make that character suffer immeasurably right in front of your eyes. Number 7. Aji. 2017 saw a surge in Bollywood for the rape revenge saga, with movies like Matrubhoomi and Mom all being released in the same year. But a movie that went widely unnoticed among all the fog was Aji. Unlike all of its counterparts though, Aji was relentless. It starts off when little Manda is found raped and dumped in a trash heap near a slum, and how her grandmother Aji plans to avenge it after realizing they won't get justice against the politician's son who was responsible. Director Devashish Makhija does not automatically equip his protagonist with all the tools necessary to become a vigilante. He rather lets Aji struggle into the role over a period of time while she tries to desensitize herself of what she will end up doing. Makhija, on the other hand, does that to us. In one scene, Aji sees the drunk rapist getting intimate with a female mannequin, literally breaking it into pieces as he sexually engages with the plastic doll, suggesting what he might have done to the 10-year-old girl before it. Aji is a movie that will confront you quite aggressively, especially during its climax, so before you subject yourself to it, don't say we didn't warn. Number 6. Raman Raghav 2.0. What if the Joker was able to convince Batman to embrace his darker side and become the monster he knew he had inside? Raman Raghav 2.0 was a 2016 thriller starring Nawazuddin Siddiqui and Vicky Kaushal in a story depicting the similar larger philosophical idea of a criminal and a cop being two sides of the same coin. Raman being the unhinged serial killer and Raghavan metaphorically being the same but in a uniform. Only in this version, the cop does end up unleashing his inner demons, throwing away any contrast he previously had with the convict, giving in to his lust for killing and exploiting. What we witness is not only the lines of morality getting blurred in the movie, we see the lines getting absolutely buried. Raman Raghav 2.0 is a typical Anurag Kashyap thriller sporting several gruesome scenes full of extremely graphic violence, abuse, and torture, which not everyone can enjoy watching. Number 5. Matrubhoomi, a nation without women. The name says it all. Matrubhoomi is a nation without women. Quite literally. The film takes us through the future of rural India, where widespread practice of female infanticide and gender-based extreme violence over the decades has caused a serious gender imbalance. And its emotional and psychological impact on the society is not a pleasant one. Sexually frustrated men partake in practices beyond imagination, the least concerning of which is child marriage, going as far as targeting unsuspecting animals to fulfill their nasty desires. And just when you start imagining what a real female would have to go through in this barbaric world, director Manish Jha throws Kalki in this rat hole, who unwillingly gets married to 5 brothers, acting as a sex slave for each on a day-to-day basis, the 6th predator being her father-in-law himself, who's more than twice her age. Matrubhumi is a tough pill to swallow, but indeed a very important one. Number 4. Black Friday. Come to think of it, we can probably create this entire list with just Anurag Kashyap movies. But for a fair ranking, let's keep it to his most stomach-churning work. Speaking of stomach-churning, let's talk about Black Friday, which was based on the 1993 real-life Mumbai blasts that ended up taking around 257 innocent lives, stunning the entire world in the process. But the aftermath of such a heinous incident is almost always harder to digest than the entire incident itself, and that's exactly what Kashyap's Black Friday offers. It follows Mumbai police's investigation of the terrorist activity caused by religious intolerance and takes us through the ins of the chaos that ensued nationwide post the bombings. Black Friday is cinematic excellence that just happens to be talking about one of the saddest moments in recent world history. So it's really up to you whether you think it's worth a watch or not. Number 3. Earth. Deepa Mehta's Earth primarily takes place in the post-colonial India and magnifies on the ground-level realities of the partition of the two nations, all seen through an innocent Parsi girl's eyes. What starts off peacefully and even beautifully under the British rule gradually becomes a systematic war of its own between different communities and religious groups. What follows is a tale of the largest and most terrible exchange of population known to history, which saw millions of Muslims, Hindus, and Sikhs giving up their life in the name of communal violence and genocide. And that's not even counting the already marginalized groups like the Parsis themselves. Earth follows a small group of people at the core and how their relationships drastically change with each other with all that transpires around them. From love to despise to betrayal, Deepa Mehta's Earth has everything discomforting to offer. Number 2. Bandit Queen. Based on the real-life story of the dacoit-turned-politician Phulan Devi, it would really be an understatement to call Bandit Queen the most graphic Bollywood movie that deals with violence against women, specifically the protagonist Phulan Devi. It all starts when she gets married at the age of 10, gets sexually assaulted by her elderly husband, runs off from village to village, all while creepy and lecherous men treat her like an absolute object that can be abused physically and emotionally. The haunting patriarchy that turns Devi into a dacoit strikes back in her life as she gets imprisoned by the Thakurs and raped by the main leader along with all his upper caste men for 3 straight days, ending only with her being stripped naked to be paraded in front of the entire village. As if all this wasn't enough to disgust the viewers, Devi later returns to that village herself with her own gang, brutally killing every man they could find there, leaving literally a pool of blood behind them. The only thing that makes this movie even more disturbing is the fact that it's a real-life biography. And number 1. Ugly. This 2013 crime thriller is arguably Anurag Kashyap's most disturbing cinematic pieces to date, and that's saying a lot for a director who has Black Friday and Panch under his belt. In fact, the movie has the least amount of Kashyap-style graphic violence, and yet it hits the hardest. Ugly follows the themes of greed, ego, opportunism, and torment in the backdrop of a case dealing with a kidnapped minor and how everyone linked to that case, including her own parents, try to benefit off the situation in their own way during the hunt. Ugly is, as the name suggests, ugly, and it only gets progressively uglier as you watch through it, ending on such an unsettling climax that it makes you feel naked in front of the screen. Ugly is true to its name. Its characters are showered with selfishness, and that too at the expense of the only innocent life that matters to us as viewers. Don't watch Ugly if you're not prepared to feel the guilt. And there you have it, guys. 10 most disturbing Bollywood movies ever. Don't agree with our thoughts? Let us know in the comment section down below which other movies deserve to be in the conversation. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, and hey, while you're at it, please subscribe to Filmanter for more such content ahead. With that out of the way, have a safe week ahead. This is Aamir, and I will see you soon.